Hey everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorded videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to the Monday edition of bi-weekly behind-the-scenes DMLA live stream Crafting the Deep, which I build, write, and prepare for our next session of Call from the Deep. If you're playing characters Gottwald, Mock, Sauber, or Twirl, the stream is not meant for you to be full of spoilers, but the rest of you are always welcome. We stream our D&D sessions live on YouTube every Friday. You can join our official Discord server with invite link in the description below. If you would like to support the channel, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. For our campaign, we use Roll20. For streaming, I use OBS Studio. I literally just got home from my oldest kiddo's softball game where she got the first leadoff base hit, which was very excited. Later scored the run. So as a reward, we all went and got milkshakes afterwards, which for some reason took forever, even though we got like the smallest, tiniest, easiest possible order you could get at a fucking milkshake place. So anyway, but we're here, we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons and Call from the Deep, and I'm not really talking about Tentrix's Floating Lair anymore, even though I'm still calling these Crafting the Deep Sea King Tentrix, because that's kind of where we are with the main story, but there's nothing else I can really talk about there. We spent the last like 2 or 3 sessions in the same fight, and nothing really has progressed for me to discuss, so instead we're kind of covering the next area. Hey Sylvan, I did see that it was his last project. I didn't know that he was Chris Perkins is the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide. I didn't know that he's getting promoted to design lead. That's very cool. Perkins obviously been there forever and ever and ever. I remember gosh, what was the very earliest Ack Inc stuff? It was pre 5th edition, right? They were playing, I think they started with 4th edition, which is only my only experience with 4th edition was listening to those original podcasts with God, who was the original crew? It would have been, I think, Scott Kurtz, and then the Penny Arcade guys. I don't remember who the 4th one was at the time, because I don't think Name of the Wind guy Rothfuss had joined him at that point yet. I don't remember. Anyway, but Perkins was the DM, so that was just, I remember just listening to him forever. So very cool. Definitely like his designs, although I'm sure he's also designed some stuff where I've gone through and been like, this isn't that good, but you know, we can't win them all. All right, so Purple Rocks. I was initially thinking to combine these 2 islands into one, but then I saw on the map, which I'm finally going back to looking at for the first time in a long time. I haven't gone back to the Sword Coast Overland map. It does clearly list 2 islands on this map, so maybe I should do the 2 island things. The nice thing is I can linearly plop the players wherever I want to, because I have destroyed their ship effectively. So the Merid can hopefully teleport them. And if the worst case scenario, the players somehow don't get control of the Merid, then maybe just some psychic spell, whatever, will just transport them here. I don't know, but they're going to end up at Purple Rocks without needing to do any more overland travel whatsoever. We're done with that. I don't want to do anything with elemental wind of water stuff. We're done with that. We're like cutting. We're getting to the last bits of post-production where the producers comes in and like, look, dude, you made a 6-hour movie. We need to make it like 2 hours and 10 minutes. So you're gonna have to cut. Even though obviously I don't have to do that, but pacing is something I always talk about, and I don't know. I'm getting pretty sick of fighting, and I would like to get to the end of this campaign at some point. Let's see. So the first island is Utheral, where they arrive. Things are creepy, but there's not really. I'm trying to think where the actual. Okay, there's the actual event. So there's a lot of little creepy stuff that you can do, but I don't know how much my players are going to care about exploring any of this stuff on their own. They will have to be forced to, not forced, but they're going to want to long rest somewhere. So I know I've got them at least for one scene where they're long resting, and I can totally spring, you know, some kind of ambush on them. I don't think I've done that all campaign, by the way. Something I've done at least once, if not multiple times, in previous campaigns where, you know, they had to worry about setting a watch and, like, you know, doing all that. And honestly, this one has been a little, well, it's not been remote like the other ones have, I guess, with Tomb Annihilation Ram the Frostbane were both in very remote locations, right? It was dangerous, and they weren't long resting at a lot of safe places. Whereas here, a lot of long resting has been like at the cities. They wouldn't really have to. I haven't had a chance to really ambush them, I guess, for night attacks. Whereas this might be the one and only and probably most appropriate time to launch some kind of creepy ambush on them while they are sleeping. We can talk about what we can try to do there. I did glance at the Intellect Devourer stat block, and it freaked me the fuck out, as I'm sure some of you are chuckling about, given they can just instantly like psychically, magically lobotomize people with like a single. And it's technically 2 rolls you have to fail, I guess. But still, Christ, it's real nasty. So let's skip down to the events in Vilkstead, which is the village in Utheral. So the events in here is Sea King Frannis trying to flee his castle. I don't know if I want to do that again. I'm probably going to skip the castle. I mean, we can still have it the leader if we want, be the guy who's trying to escape and like knows something's fucked, but I don't like doing the whole castle. I really want to keep it more of a rural, creepy village atmosphere, and the castle just kind of rubs me the wrong way. So we can do that event, but that seems like almost a climactic thing. He escapes, or he goes to the players first. Yeah, entering their long. Oh, so like that's the event that happens at night, actually, which, I don't know if I want to do that as the first thing. Well, maybe that's the way they even introduce the character. Maybe at night that could be the event. Some person knocks on their door, makes a plea for them to leave the islands and take him with them, claiming there are strange beings in his castle. Slarkarthel is dead and his court has turned against him. Start beginning as a gang of Rocklanders burst in the Longhouse. Consists of Mind Flayer Thrall, 3 Thrall Berserkers, 2 Deep Scions, and the Mind Flayer from Vilkstead Castle, which I'm thinking I'm going to use the Mind Flayer from that the players actually fought earlier in the campaign. Thiliosk, whom they met in the mine in Gunderland. I forgot what the mine was called. But they basically didn't even face him. I think he like showed up and then he kind of teleported away, and then the party had to fight the, I think it was the Roper thing. Because I was like, there's no way I want to fight a Mind Flayer right now. Whereas now, hell yeah, they're going to fight a Mind Flayer plus a bunch of enemies. So I think that'll be a good opportunity to use another one of the, or I guess the same one, but still. That way, by the time they make it to the final dungeon, they'll have taken out at least 2 of the 4 attendants, and I could even put one of the other ones maybe further up at the entrance of the dungeon if I wanted to. But it's a big dungeon. We can fit them all in. Deep Scions do their transformation. They've already fought... Yeah, any character that sees a transformation must succeed in DC 15 Wisdom save. That's not going to happen because they've already fought Deep Scions. Like, I can't really do that horror part of it anymore. I used them in the Styes. And I think I even used them earlier than that. Had, what was it, like Burn from Gunderland, like turn into a Deep Scion or something. And Ned, I believe, was a Deep Scion, and Neverwinter. So I've kind of been using that stat block quite a bit. It's not, doesn't quite have the same horror thing to it. We could do some creatures who, once they kill them, the Intellect Devourers pop out. That's pretty cool. And something that D&D stat blocks don't do enough of, which is putting creatures inside other creatures. Creature nesting dolls. Or like whenever you defeat a creature, it becomes another or different or altered stat block. I think is a cool idea. And they just go out and kill Frannis. So that's a pretty big event, but that's also weirdly kind of the climactic event because that's literally the Mind Flayer who's going to attack them. So the timing doesn't work out great. Like normally if the party, and I'm sure it's written that way in the book, where the party arrives here, they have a full day, and then they would long rest at night, and then this event happens. But the problem I'm looking at is that my party, when they arrive here, is in desperate need of a long rest right off the bat before they do anything else. So I don't know if I can quite pull off this event at that point. Maybe we just don't use the Mind Flayer necessarily yet. Although, where else are we going to use him? Or we could say, fuck it, and use the Mind Flayer here. I don't know. Let's see. Children of the Deeps is the one where they're throwing the kids one night when the moon is full. Characters welcome the sound of children crying out on the harbor cliffs, gathering that doesn't. Ooh, that'd be a good event to do when they're sleeping too. Really creepy. We're seen by 3 deep scions hold their newborn babies over the edge above the crashing waves below as characters watch the babies are flung into the roiling ocean. It's messed up. A dozen sea spawn climb up the cliffs and engage in a blasphemous ritual with the Rocklanders. A hedonistic, swirling dancing lit by flickering green flames, followed by a feast on the corpse of a shark. Just a really creepy scene. Rocklanders try to shove the characters off the cliff. They succeed. The characters captured by the 12 sea spawn to take them to Ascarl. Okay. So those are both at night. And leaving Utheral. At some point, the characters may want to leave Utheral against the request of the Rocklanders. Characters leave by boat. They're met by a longship crewed. They're not going to have their boat, though. But I guess they could jack one. Or, yeah, they will. They have their folding boat. Never mind. They do have a portable boat they can take. I wouldn't do any kind of random encounters at them. 40 tribal warriors. That's a lot. I'm not going to throw 40 CR-18 creatures. That's just begging for the one wizard to be like, all right, well, let me nuke all these guys in one hit. After escaping, characters must endure 2 days of random encounters while traveling across the islands. Okay. Do you have a list of random encounter ideas? Book or no? Not seeing where you would have any kind of table or anything. Appendix A, random encounter. I guess you could just use that one table they give. Be like, yeah, any of these. But what am I saying? I don't want to do fucking random encounters. I don't want to do that right now. A little lockdown is going to prevent the characters using magic to escape Vilkstead. However, the use of such magic alerts the Mind Flayers. Mind Flayer in the castle of the characters' movements. Illithid can then pursue the characters wherever they go or alert the elders of Trisk of their disappearance. So the Mind Flayer is on Utheral, but the actual Elder Council is on Trisk. So it's a little backwards, but I guess the kind of dangerous mini-boss is actually on the earlier village. Do I want to keep that or do I want to move them? If the players can pull the dungeon, the players will pull the dungeon. Yeah. Mine certainly will. I have done it before, and I'll probably do it again. Alright, and then Trisk is the creepy one. So, Utheral, weirdly, like, if the players teleport there and show up, like, they would definitely be shocks, but because they just don't get a lot of outside. But it could be that maybe it's a pilgrimage site for a lot of Kraken Society members. So it's not like they never get visitors. You know, maybe if you raise high enough in the Kraken Society, like then you're kind of, you know, this is the main location, and you would come here to either live here or just give prayer and rituals to Slarkarthel and do all that here at this main location. So that's how they may think the players are initially. But once again, the book also doesn't think that the players are infamous by now. And I feel like I've already established that at least in the Black Armada they're very infamous, but it also makes sense that the Mind Flayer colony, and they've already fought one of the Mind Flayers and defeated them, and thus the entire colony would also view the players as a very real threat. So anybody who's like a thrall or anything may already be aware. Now, maybe the colony wants to keep it cool once the players are here and not necessarily go hostile on them right when they arrive at Uthral. But that also limits their ability to just kind of, you know, explore on their own pace and do their own thing, as they are in dangerous territory. And then Trisk. Let's see. Kraken Priest and Deep Scions. Let's see. What else is Trisk? All right, that's all that's under Trisk? Is this little paragraph? Crap. Okay. Trisk is uninhabited. So, save for Oath of Thugar and a nameless encampment on the northernmost part of the island where the Kraken Priest can be directly to Starkothel. But there's no information on this town, Oath of Thugar. There's no. It's just each of the characters spend in the town. They can attempt a DC 16 stealth check to move around cautiously, indicating they avoid drawing attention to themselves. Well, what happens if, like, okay, not a lot of information here. Northern Trisk is, we looked at this on Monday, or last Thursday, I believe, which is this kind of mini dungeon crawl, which has some cool parts to it and acts as the entrance to the mega dungeon. Behind this crumbling, I think this crumbling tower is like the only thing that they actually see, and you enter this tower and then go down the stairs, and that enters this kind of subterranean cavern dungeon. So that seems worth doing. Do I already have? Let me see if I already found that map or not. Because some of these I did find, others I need to find. Northern Trisk. I did find this one somewhere. Okay, I might be able to use this one. That's a cool looking map. Unfortunately, I didn't write down where I got it from, like an idiot. Yeah. It's like reverse Google search it. I won't necessarily add it right now, but that's I think I for sure want to use this one, but it's also just a dungeon crawl in front of another dungeon crawl, so like of course I want to use it. So their goal is to get to this location, because Northern Trisk then goes to Askarl. Let's see. I was talking about that. Ruins of Askarl, underwater city of elves, moon elves. Ruin areas. Yeah, there's a big like overland area, and then there's all these like hidden, yeah, the dungeons, which is underneath. Which I don't think all the dungeons are underwater either. All right, so they need to get here. What the hell gets them here? Because I'm not seeing anything in Trisk. If they're captured, they're taken to the Temple of Tentacles. The only thing it mentions is that this is where the elders like commune, but there's no like scenes or events of that. That's why I'm kind of floundering. I don't know if this was just kind of ran out of time when we did this chapter, or what's going on here. Temple of Tentacles, which is where the elders, including Deep Lord Ingramar, who's got the Staff of the Magi, do their thing. But there's nothing actually here. Yeah, it's this shit's all at Northern Trisk. Really? They could skip a lot? You know, it does say they enter like area 30 something, don't they? I need to start writing this shit down. Yeah, they enter area 32 if they make it into Northern Trisk. So, because I'm trying to do is like work backwards, right? Like if I'm trying to get from point A to point D, let's start at D because that's where they have to end up, and then figure out how they get to that location. So ways to get to Ascarl is Northern Trisk, which is a dungeon, leads to area 32. I think there was some location in Uthral where they could be thrown. This is how I do note taking, by the way. I just have insane amounts of tabs up. It's just absolute chaos. I'm not super organized, I'll be honest. Which was the one where they get like, this one just says take them to Ascarl, which okay. Was it an event then, or was it just a thing? Abandoned temple. Yeah, I tried reading this and I couldn't even understand. They go to this abandoned temple and they find like a map clue. Parchment inside bears a drawing of which there's no dungeon here. It's just like walking in and finding it. For those to either side are talk to the strange statue, a loathsome creature of a single character whose cephalopodic nature is betrayed by the presence of leathery bat-like wings and a crouched humanoid frame. And then it just says characters who explore Trisk Northern Shore can locate the remnants of the pillars and gate within a few days. This is the location of Escar, the lair of Slarkarthel. Which tells me that's the main entrance. Where was the spot where they throw people down a hole? I swear that was something somewhere. Do you remember which entrances they are, AZ Fishhead? I'm trying to locate. I guess I could look at Escarl and try to figure it out from there, but I think I'm just not liking the way this whole chapter, or this second half of the chapter, is organized. And I appreciate having like just the overall events, but like I'm trying to get the characters from point A to point D. I'm not seeing any other ways to do that. Does it say in here? Central City. The building is covered with seaweed and gardening over the past 18. Northern entrance. Sargathron's looks for here when the characters first arrive. Okay, but how do they get here? On the northern coast of what came to be known as Trisk of Purple Rocks. Okay, I can see the ruins themselves lead to multiple. Yeah. I get that part of it, but like, how do they get, like, I get that this map here leads to multiple dungeon entrances, which is cool. But how do they get to this location? Like, that's the important thing to me. And you're right. If they go through the Northern Trisk tunnel, then I guess they actually can skip. Um, they can skip that whole area possibly. Hmm. Oh, interesting. So I'm looking at two different places that both lead to Area 32. That seems... It's Area 32 that is Escarl. The corrupted caverns. Oh boy, this place has got 8 gibbering mouthers. Good lord. Cannot even blow this map big enough to see where 32 is at the moment. I think it's, oh, there it is. Right there on the lower left, kind of. There's that tunnel going out here. My overlay kind of covers it up, but it's not necessarily a bad entrance. Because it's such a big, open, freaking dungeon you could enter in multiple areas and still have tons to do. I know, honestly, Twirl's whole thing here is going to be crazy. Like, this is, I don't know. It should be a reckoning for him. He should be instantly recognized. And you know what? This might be the time for him to be able to step forward and do the role-playing part of it, where maybe everybody acts like he acts, and they're all like seriously intoning about the Fathomless and stuff, and they all refer to Slarkarthel as the Fathomless, which would be pretty fun. And then Toral's like, "Oh yeah, I'm here where I need to be." I'm just not sure how they get to the actual ruins. That is confusing. I have all these tabs up. Trisk has no information. Nameless encampment on the northernmost part of the island. But I think that's supposed to be the northern Trisk tower. Sabra's book pulling towards the staff. I'm thinking of... I can make the Temple of Tentacles very obvious, right? I can make... Because these things are like landmarks the players can see. So, and it even says that the Temple of Tentacles, which you think like, oh, well, that's like the boss... That looks like the Zelda-ass boss dungeon or something. And it's disappointingly not the way it's written. It's just a single domed room where with a statue and the priests just gather there. Is it in Trisk, though? I guess, I don't know. I also don't know why the Kraken priests have limited knowledge about the Kraken Society. That makes no sense to me. We're not associated with that cult. Yeah, this is not the one where they throw him down. All right, there's some event. Maybe it's when they get to Uthral. They witness somebody being thrown down a freaking hole. Let me find that one. It's not Bilgstead Castle. The abandoned temple. Granite Shrines, Longhouse. Beach Harbor, and that's it for locations. Crap. Okay, maybe it's further down. Yeah, this is the one, okay. When the characters first arrive in the village, they're escorted to the castle. In the fort, characters live in a habitable region of the ruins. They pass through a domed circular chamber whose walls are engraved with crashing wave motifs. This is a 5-foot radius hole in the center of the floor, which drops. I originally thought this was a Temple of Tentacles when I was reading this. 5-foot radius hole in the center of the floor, which drops several hundred feet to the ocean below. 3 berserkers lead a bound commoner to the hole and throw him down. A figure cloaked in a head To tow Black Veil, a mind flare created by Ceramorphosis, watches the process. I thought that led somewhere. Damn, it's just a random thing. That seems like kind of cool and creepy though. To where it's not even an event, it's like something they see while walking around. Domed circular chamber, which is exactly the description of Temple of Tentacles. All right, so maybe we're gonna combine some events to where it just makes sense in my head, because the more I try to make sense of what the designer is doing here, the less satisfied I am. Which is, I think, the first time that's happened in this campaign. I've liked pretty much everything up till now. But this particular region just seems a little undercooked. So what if we would combine the Temple of Tentacles with that event? So instead of there being a like Kraken statue in the middle, there's just a giant fucking hole that drops hundreds of feet into the ocean below. That's a cool, creepy thing. And the elders, who are of course they're the eldest, highest ranking priests of the Kraken Society, because that makes sense to me. They all, and it does say in the book that they know something's wrong with Slarkrethel. They've felt it, and they feel like they need to step up their rituals and things that they do to try to appease their god. So that's why things are a little bit more unstable and creepier than usual. They're sacrificing people. They're yeeting their babies into the ocean. Like, it's pretty dark stuff. In which case, I don't know how I'll interact with that with Twirl, but there should be some kind of interaction there. Or maybe even the head priest can even like sense that Twirl, is a worshiper of the Fathomless, and like try to get him to help with the rituals or something. Really lean into it. But that way we turn maybe the Temple of Tentacles into an actual main site, and then perhaps jumping down this absolute terror water slide could lead to the ruins of Ascarl down below. So that when they're sacrificing people, they're actually sending them to the Kraken. Does all of that make a little more sense? But we could still include the Northern Trisk area as well as a dungeon. And that would be I was thinking the standard way that you would enter the dungeon, but now that I'm looking at the fact that you enter in room 32. But like you said, Fishhead, I could move that tunnel, I guess, could maybe lead somewhere else. I mean, it's a pretty obvious tunnel, I think, right? This is the one right here with going that way with P9. Yeah, statue and tunnel. And the bad thing is there is a nice giant tunnel that clearly... let's just go to that Scarl map real quick. The nasty looking one. So big. Because I haven't done a lot of map stuff because I'm still trying to figure out like what maps I need. Tabs must close. Too many tabs. Alright, so here is the dungeon. So where the fuck is room 1? Because that's probably where they think the dungeon begins. Okay. So how the hell do you get to room 1? Desecrated Catacombs. That sounds like a Diablo location. I love the location names in Diablo. They're always just like super fun, like random name generator. Like the Desolate Fields. What's shit? The Bloody Sepulchre. Sepulchre? So that's all submerged. Stairs beyond the chamber lead to Area A in the ruins of Ascarl. Well, that... Yeah, I guess. It's all just going to lead to the ruins. But my same question comes up, like, how the fuck do you get to the ruins? You just look out of the water and be like, oh, that looks like the place that Sarkarthel hangs out. The Den of Evil was the one from Diablo 2, right? The first area. The ruins of Escarl spread for miles and have a distinctly elven feel. Little is left of the ancient city, but a few pieces of architecture have defied the ravages of time and tide. Hidden entrance. Go to CBD unguarded. Leads to area 1. The northern entrance. Slarkrathel is straight up there when the characters first arrive. Which is crazy. To fight the damn Kraken. So that is the northern entrance there. Sorry, where's the north? It's B is the northern entrance. I see A, I see C. B, I guess, is right there. There's a giant Kraken on this map. I guess it's interesting to, like, pop in and out of the dungeon, but, like, when you pop out, you're having to fight the Kraken here, maybe? Or you never probably do that. You just stick underneath. It also feels weird to, like, fight the Kraken to make your way into the dungeon, but that's important because you do have to, like, separate the Elder Brain from the Kraken. So if you do enough damage, maybe that's, I think that's supposed to separate the Elder Brain. And then I believe the Elder Brain, when it's attacked, teleports away. If Slarkarthel is about to be killed, Zelix40 uses a teleport to transport itself to Area 70, where its protective dome should keep it safe from harm. If Zelix4 is about to be killed, it casts Plane Shift to travel to the Fractured Hand in the Astral Plane. The same is true for the various Mind Flayers occupied the dungeons. Oh boy, so it's like a final Astral Retreat. I haven't even looked at that. Okay. So you do have to fight it at some point. So if you enter in 32, which is where the tunnel enters, that is here, I believe. Yeah, a map would having a map of the dungeon is pretty fucking useful. Very Zelda-ish, right? So that's still, I assume all this is underwater. Or maybe not. I don't actually know. Maybe just the dark stuff is submerged. The rest of it's actually above water. Much of the dungeon is submerged. Creatures that cannot breathe water must hold their breath. Underwater combat rules apply. When the water meets air, it is held back by arcane runes etched in the surrounding stone. A successful casting of Dispel magic causes water to leaking through. The rest of the dungeon begins filling at a rate of 1 foot per minute. So I guess it is all underwater for the most part, unless maybe it says otherwise. This is such a big area. I guess I need to figure out more about like what the goal is here, but you can't even enter this side except from that top area, it looks like. Brain golems. Ah, they're not. Okay. Oh, you can even see the little graphic of the water here. Okay, that makes sense. Also makes sense because there's just like normal people up here versus down here. Not so much maybe, except for some mind flayers shenanigans going on. This is a big ass map. Like, not just like number of rooms, but like physically humongous. Look at this. I'm zoomed out at 30% right now. Holy crap. How long is this going to take us? This middle room is over 300 feet. Gigantic chamber. So when you come in, that's one of the first things you see is that gigantic chamber then. But I don't think you can get into it, so that's kind of interesting. And there's like side rooms you can do. Honestly, I'm not opposed to them coming in the dungeon on that side so far, but I'll need to reread this whole chapter for sure. But yeah, if we can sprinkle in maybe more entrances or an excuse to go to the ruins, and then from the ruins, it is nice if they figure out they can get up to the ruin side, and then from the ruins they can actually pop in down and get to other areas of the dungeon. But I don't think they'll have any quests here other than just to take out the Mind Flayer colony, which I think that does take several steps. All right, so we like the idea of using of making the Temple of Tentacles a major event area, where they're like straight up sacrificing people. Maybe I will just combine the island, even though it says there's 2 islands there. Party's not gonna fucking ever be on this mainland map again. We can just stick to the one main island and have everything happening there. That would help clean it up and not have to have the players worry about traveling around too much. So we can do the arrival. We can have the Mind Flayer already there. You know, people are being slowly converted to intellect devourers or thralls. I don't know what else they're doing here. I mean, they've already sent one of the Mind Flayers out who got defeated, which had the juvenile Kraken. So I guess they're still just expanding their base of operations and stuff. Players have already made it so far. And maybe that, I like the idea of the Temple of Tentacles maybe actually leads down to the ruins, to where if you jump down there and literally go however high, you know, that fall, they said hundreds of feet. I'll need an actual number because I'm sure somebody's going to end up jumping down there, or at least kicking somebody down there. What's that movie that did that? Fucking Zack Snyder movie. I can't think of it now. 300. With a very famous light kick. And that could lead to literally just the middle of the ruins of Ascarl. I don't know. I know it doesn't quite work on the map, but we could put the temple maybe towards the northern side of the island. And then the this crumbling temple area could maybe be a location where if the party is trying to like stake out or figure out if there's any real mysterious things going on, that's where they can find some people entering in, and maybe like more people entering than are leaving or something. That should give a clue as to this random crumbling tower being kind of an important location. Because I did like the dungeon here. It's something I would like to highlight to the party for sure. I know, fucking sharpshooter. And those ranges like rarely ever come into play, but when they do, a sharpshooter is sure to let me know of it. By the way, I mentioned the fact that I looked at Intellect Devour earlier and freaked out. I think I did this earlier in the campaign as well. The Intellect Devour, only a CR2, 12 AC, 21 hit points, very easily taken out. However, if it attacks you, it can make its basic claw attack and also use Devour Intellect. Devour Intellect, the Intellect Devourer, targets a creature it can see within 10 feet of it that has a brain. So 10-foot range. The target must succeed on a DC 12 intelligence saving throw. Not a high DC, but 12... Or not a high DC, but intelligence is not one that a lot of players are great on. Or you take 2d10 psychic damage. However, if you fail, you also... the Intellect Devourer then rolls 3d6. And if the total of that equals or exceeds the target's intelligence score, that score is reduced to 0. To 0. Target is stunned, no shit, until it regains at least 1 point of intelligence. Literally psychically lobotomizes you. And how do you regain intelligence? Like, does that come back on a long rest? Like, what the fuck? Greater restoration maybe would help you, but like, yikes. There's not a whole lot of abilities out there that sap attributes, and all of them that can do that are real nasty, like Shadows with strength. Like, it's crazy. I love the fact they can still do the little claw attack and devour intellect. Like, it, at least for like the mind flayers extract brain, they have to first like grapple or incapacitate or something like the target and then use extract brain on a different turn. But the intellect devourer has no such setup. All it has to do is be within 10 feet. Like, it's crazy. I know, CR2, like, this makes no sense to me. It only has to be within 10 feet of a target, and there's no setup. It can just use it as part of its multi-attack and force that target to make a intelligence saving throw, taking an average of about 10 or 11 damage. But then you're just on the complete, like, random, like... And most people, intelligence, let's face it, is your dump stat, right? Unless you're a wizard or an eldritch knight, or you just randomly wanted to be slightly better at some skills, you probably don't have a great intelligence. So having a 3d6 equal or exceed the target's intelligence score could very well happen, and then you've just psychically lobotomized that player. It's fucking crazy. Yes, that's true. They do say that with the Shadows. This one's just like, until you regain a point of intelligence. Like, you can't even speak either. You're literally just fucking drool coming out of your mouth. It's crazy. And Shadows also doesn't automatically drop it to 0. I think it does, what, 1d4 strength attribute damage or something. So I think this is bananas. That seems just crazy to me. It seems like you would have to do like the shade thing of like just slowly lowering that score. If anything, that's probably how I would change it. Be like, look, it lowers that stat by this d4, and you get it back on a long rest. And if it happens to lower that score to 0, then it can use its Body Thief ability. Where Body Thief at least does say they have to be incapacitated, so stunned counts. And then there's an intelligence contest, which I love that it fucking says that, because guess what? The target, if you've incapacitated them, they have a 0. They have fucking 0 intelligence. So what is that, like a -5 or something? To your contested intelligence score? Although granted the intellect devour only has a +1. Yeah, I don't like this stat block. It's not great. It's not great. There is another kind of creature that's used that I was thinking I could use for the nighttime ambush as well, if I wanted to go that route. I believe it's also mentioned in Utheral, and it's called a Slithering Tracker. It's not used when they're sleeping, but it's a different scene. But I was like, okay, what's that? Some kind of like creepy, like ambushing ooze puddle thing. Oops, not slickering. Slithering. I'm trying to see if it's got a... oops, no, wrong thing. Let's go to the compendium. Not the art gallery. I don't have a... I wanted to get a picture of this thing. Yeah, that's pretty fucking creepy. What the hell is that? Is it an ooze? It is an ooze, okay. Sucks all the moisture from the subject's body, killing it. Yet the subject's mind lives on in the puddle that issues forth from the mains, and so does its insatiable need for retribution. So it's a really creepy killer ooze. Achieving revenge against the target doesn't necessarily track resistance. Some targets remain aware of their purpose and extend their quest of vengeance to others. Tracker's mind can't cope with being trapped in liquid form and unable to communicate, driven by the desire for blood or feeling its due. The overwhelmed creature attacks indiscriminately until it is destroyed. I don't know if this has anything to do with mind flayers, but it just seems kind of cool. It's a CR3, 39 average hit points with 14 armor class. It looks like a regular puddle. But it has a life leech ability, which is a separate attack. One creature within 5 feet of it must succeed on DC 13 dex save or be grappled until the grapple ends the target is restrained and unable to breathe unless it can breathe water. It like wraps around your head. In addition, the grappled target takes 3d10 necrotic damage at the start of each of its turns. So the only bummer is when it first does it, it doesn't actually do any damage. You have to wait until... well, actually, I guess you could wait until the start of the victim's turn, but somebody could pull it out. So the tracker can only grapple one target at a time. While grappling the target, this slithering tracker only takes half any damage dealt to it, and the target takes the other half. It's got, what is that, the cloaker ability, I think? Which is kind of nice. That'd be a kind of a creepy thing. I'm really picturing like a facehugger ambush scene where you could let these creatures go while the party's like trying to sleep. And they're just like liquid oozing up, and then they all try to do their attack. And if a party member's... I'm trying to think, because they would have advantage if they were surprising, but instead it's a dex save. But if you're technically incapacitated because you're sleeping, do you fail dex saves? Again, I have not ambushed the party while they're sleeping yet this whole campaign. Well, I guess you're more than incapacitated if you're sleeping. You're unconscious, right? Technically, if you're asleep, you're unconscious. Would we agree with this? Creature automatically fails strength and dex saving throws. Now, you could give them a chance to detect. These things do have a +8 to stealth. And if somebody's literally dead ass asleep, it'd be pretty hard to detect them. So they would just automatically like glom onto people, which would be a hell of a start to a fight if they released like 4 of these things into the room. I don't know if they would be associated with the Mind Flayers at all. It's not technically part of the... This is me trying to come up with something that's not... an intellect devour ambush, because that creature just freaks me out. Or if we don't do this, then maybe we run the event where maybe the person who welcomed them, that Frannis character, like knocks on their door and whispers to them, and or maybe we just have the party be drawn to one of those events, like the baby's crying and they go out and see the yeeting over the cliffs, or I guess I'd probably wait to the I'd probably want to wait for them to have their long rest before running the temple ritual. So maybe I'll do that one like first thing in the early morning, is they come across that Temple of Tentacles ritual going on with the other Kraken priests, and that's just 5 Kraken priests, in a circle, which would be pretty crazy. Sacrificing that one person with a bunch of like commoners around them. That'd be a hell of a fight. And that one dude's got the Staff of the Magi, which Sarva's going to want. And I feel like once the party has that fight, like, the cat's out of the bag, then, like, there's no... I don't know if we can do much exploring. Like, all the regular people would flee. And then, so where do you try to fit the Mind Flayer in with that? Unless... you reveal that one of the Kraken priests, like maybe some of them are covered and if they got ornamentation or something going on, and it just turns out one of them is a Mind Flayer, that might up the difficulty of that fight too much, because the average Kraken priest stat block is already pretty solid, and then one of them is like a boss version. He's like that Warlock boss with the Staff of the Magi. Yeah, it's this. Each Kraken priest is a CR5, and that's the worst thing that's going to be there. And there's 5 of them. That's going to be nuts. So I don't know if I can make one of those a Mind Flayer. So maybe we... I'm trying to think where we want to put the Mind Flayer. I mean, I guess we could do the original event Frannis fleeing and the Mind Flayer trying to chase after him. It just feels weird to do that as like the first thing the party experiences. But I mean, the Mind Flayer would want to take the party out pretty quickly too. He would have a direct connection to Zelix 4, so it wouldn't really make sense for the Mind Flayer to just be chilling around. He would know immediately once he sees the party, or even like feels the party. I don't know. Can they got telepathy out to 120 feet? He has at will detect thoughts, but just recognizing them, and look, because the party doesn't seem like they're interested in like disguising themselves either. So I don't plan on running a whole lot of events while they're here. But I just want like a session ish where we're not in the middle of a big fight, hopefully, even though I'm just talking about doing a big fight at the Temple of Tentacles, but at least the things that lead up to that will be more exploration based. I mean, I don't know. It just every time the party has a fight as an option, it's fight, fight, fight. And maybe that's what it'll be here, but hopefully we can do a few more RP stuff, and I'm sure Toro will surprise me and surprise everybody, and maybe we get a chance to do some more fun things with having, because usually it's Raymond doing the shenanigans of trying to blend in with the bad guys and do the manipulation, the deception, all that, and it would be really fun if Reese as Twirl's character, who's all about the fathomless and like the super religious view of it, would kind of be able to take charge of things in this situation, if I can help encourage that once they arrive here. But the goal is to, because the player they already know this is the main source. They already know this is the very end of the game. So I don't want to do too much of this like, oh yeah, we're in this big village, there's a lot of stuff to do. That's not the goal that I'm trying to do. This is just a creepy, very tiny place where there's some really messed up rituals going on, and you guys just need to figure out where basically the Kraken is and how to get there. And they can either swim out to that northern shore and enter the ruins there, which they can learn that from anybody. They can enter the tower, which they'll be able to see or hear from people about that being an important place, but nobody knows why. Or that maybe that giant hole in the middle of the temple, which I'm going to turn into a giant hole, that leads down into one of the locations in the ruins when they're doing the big temple location. So maybe give the party like 3 different ways of getting down there. So that's my idea right now. I need to get a lot more notes done for this area, but hopefully it's starting to come together a little bit for an area that has been surprisingly kind of a pain in the ass for me to put together. This has been the only one that out of this whole campaign where I've been like, oh, I don't actually like how this is necessarily organized, and obviously we need to go through all of chapter 5 at some point. All right, well, that will do it for this session of Crafting the Deep. If you enjoy the content, as always, please check out patreon.com/Rogue Watson. Shouts to Platinum patrons Joe, Will, Thomas, Stan, Brennan, Zenicider, Eclectic, Roleplayer, Roll, Christopher, Corey, Big Nut, John F., John L., Nathan, Carcusly, Counter, Andrew, The Reldrin, Stephanie, Patrick, Jason, Ismail, Amat, Lumpy, Suds, Sharny, Warden, Harold, Unum, LSC, Jamie, Reese, Tom, AJ, They're Eating the Dogs, Louise, Caleb, and Chad, and Gold patrons RPG, Paper Crimes, Pretty Boy, and Yuma, Lizard Lounge, Jerome, Nathan, Fastigo, Scott, Refus, Jerry, Glenn, Marcus, and Mark. Thank you all very much for your support. I will see you all on Thursday.